good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. I welcome you here in Uganda at Crossroads. My name is David Luburwa. Now, this has been one of the most interesting weeks since the year started. My side, I don't know much about you, but at least I'm sure that you also had a very great week. Based on what was happening in Uganda, of course, we saw Dr. Stella Nyanzi released from prison. We saw people power. Of course, early this morning, we got to know that their request was declined by police. We also cannot forget that the Minister for Education was invited in Parliament, and of course, Ruckus was there, and we cannot deny that, but everyone did their part. And so that makes my week interesting because I have a lot to talk about today with my team here. They have a lot to discuss. So I want to thank you so much for always watching Uganda at Crossroads and sharing all our programs we have here at Campfire Television. It's you who has made us become the greatest media network that is owned by Africans here in the diaspora. So we thank you so much for always doing that for us. Guys, I want to thank you also for joining me today. It's going to be a busy day. I've had, especially Daniel, you're putting on a people power beret. I've had you guys having consultation meetings today. I also know, like I've said in the start of my show, or at the start, that those in Uganda have been declined by police. Yeah. So we are still waiting. But let me start up with a very clear and key story from you guys, Richard and Sarah and Daniel. What made your week? So we want to know what exactly happened with Sarah. Let me start with you today. Did you have a nice week?
I did.
You did have a nice week. Oh, it's really nice to have a lady say that they had a nice week. Is it because of Stella Nyanzi, doctor, that she was released? Or?
Yes, Stella Nyanzi is out of prison because she wasn't even meant to go to Luzira, because as a writer she expressed herself the way she felt, and I don't know why President Museveni was offended by her poem.
All right, we will go into that. Richard, let me go straight to you. How was your week?
My week was very interesting. I saw so many things that actually confirmed things that I was always thinking about. First of all, I saw a great comment of this Alwa man, which is one of the stronghold of people power, Cassiano Wadiri, and he said that they did with ANT, Mugisha Muntu's party, because he's part of Mugisha Muntu's party, and they went out around the country doing consultation. But we were so surprised to see how people power was not being allowed to do consultation. The second thing that made me interesting is the school curricula, because I had the wife of the president of Uganda rolling out her curricula. I was watching it live in Parliament. It was so interesting. Still, people power is leading. Then the third one was the Katuna Rwanda, Katuna Uganda, Rwandan border. Yes, it was so interesting. And then that was it for the week. All right, so you seem to have had a nice week politically. I don't know to you as a person, but let me come to Daniel. Daniel, yeah. What made it interesting, if it was interesting?
Well, for me, the release of Dr. Stella Nyanzi still stood out for me, because it's a symbolic moment about the political situation in Uganda, especially to those who are in the opposition. Because we expect such kind of things to happen, but when we are not broken and we come out more stronger, it is going to impact our country. Definitely the meeting between Kagame and Museveni was really very important, and I'm surprised that this small guy made the big guy kneel and accept to go for a deal, which is really very important for Rwanda, because they've been very strategic to bring this guy to his knees. And definitely the denial for us to do our consultation meetings is still a key issue. We don't know what really makes the NRM scared for us to do our consultation meeting, because it's not about people power, it's about the people of Uganda. All right. We want to hear their views, and we want them to participate in the formulation of our policies and manifesto.
All right, so straight away, let me go into, you guys have talked so much about Dr. Stella Nyanzi. You know, we should remember the reason why Dr. Stella Nyanzi was in prison is because the government says she abused the president and of course the first lady, and yesterday when she was released, she continued to use almost the same statements. Now, I'm not going to go so much into it for the start, but let me bring in Sarah. What does the release of Dr. Stella Nyanzi mean? One, to the opposition; two, to People Power; three, to FDC. Now, I'm going to spread them in two different, to Richard and Daniel, but let me first focus on you. What does it mean to the opposition, generally?
First of all, Dr. Stella Nyanzi was not meant to be in prison, for starters. There's nothing wrong she did. She just wrote a poem just like any other writer, and she used even she did not just put out words just like any other person. She put up a poem, of which I found that poem very interesting. And the poem was, she was trying to show the pain of Ugandans in a poem, and how much grief and pain President Museveni has caused Ugandans. So I don't see why she went to prison, for starters, because whatever she said was the truth. That's what Ugandans face. Maybe President Museveni saw he doesn't like the truth being told to him. But she was in prison for wrong reasons completely. Abusing the president. President Museveni has abused us for 34 years. In fact, we should be taking him to prison, or we should have done even something worse than that. He has abused us for 34 years. When you look at Uganda where it is right now, there is poor service delivery, there is corruption. We've seen President Museveni. We've seen people who are being indicted for corruption being elevated and given positions by President Museveni. That's an insult to Ugandans. He has insulted Uganda. What President Museveni has done for the 34 years is nothing to compare to what Dr. Nyanzi did. She just wrote an innocent poem. So many innocent Ugandans have been killed, and we don't have enough. Look at our public figures that have been murdered for the last year and so. You have Kawesi. There's no report about his murder. You have Chilumia. No report about his murder. He has insulted us as Ugandans. How can a full police chief be murdered in broad daylight when he has security? He has bodyguards, he has a front car, he has a lead car, he has a behind car, in full combat, in uniform. He's murdered like a chicken. You know, that's abuse to Ugandans. Look at what happened to Entebbe Road.
But there's that...
The women that were murdered in Entebbe Road, that was last year or the other year. That's abuse to Ugandans. These women belong to their families, they have mothers, they have sisters, they have brothers. That's an insult to Ugandans.
Does that mean that she has the right to use what someone can call vulgar language to abuse the president?
She has every right to express herself, because what President Museveni has done to Ugandans is much worse. Dr. Nyanzi did not shoot anyone, did not kill anyone. She did not do anyone. That in fact, it should not take a penny from Museveni's pocket. Museveni has stolen, and his cronies have stolen from Ugandans. Recently, 20 billion, was dispatched for locusts. No one can give accountability for that money. Last year, money was dispersed for Lubowa Hospital. No one can give accountability. That's a bigger insult. Do you know how many students graduate from Makerere University and they cannot access jobs? That's an insult, because parents go through a struggle of even paying extra fees with an increments that are given to universities, and then you get to the job market, you can't find any.
Sorry, before I leave you and I get to Richard, let me ask you a question. What does that teach the young people in Uganda when people in that caliber of doctors, professors now are turning down to use the words that your former colleague, a full figure, used to use?
You should know.
And you used to.
Ugandans are angry, Ugandans are bitter. Because they do not have guns to do what the other people are doing. People are using every little means. People are depressed. People have a lot of anger. The only alternative they would have done, like President Museveni, when he was angry, when he was bitter, when he felt disgruntled by the regime, that was Obote's regime, Museveni went to the bush, he resorted to the gun. When you see doctors, Stella Nyanzi, the likes of Full Figure, undressing, using obscene language, it shows you how much Ugandans are bitter and angry and have been disgruntled. People have lost hope. People are hopeless. That it is okay for people to say obscene things, because Museveni has been obscene. He may not have used vulgar languages, but the things he has done to Ugandans are more vulgar. Just if you cannot, right now, when we have an economy that is struggling, and you cannot even account for 20 billion that was passed a week and so ago for locusts, you cannot account for it. Museveni has been more vulgar. And his vulgarity may not have used the words, but he has exploited Ugandans. He has used the gun. So many people have lost their lives. So that is worse. So people look for, when people have been oppressed for a very long time, they look for ways to express out their anger. The likes of Dr. Nyanzi, who have unease with using obscenity, they will resort to that because she doesn't have any guns. The other time she put up her breasts out, that's the way she felt expressing herself to show the pain. Do you think if Dr. Nyanzi did not have any pain? And first of all, because she stood up against the junta, she was cut off from, she was a lecturer at Makerere University. I think she was working at Makerere University. She was cut off. Yeah. She has no salary right now. So that is, she cannot feed her children. She cannot take them to school. This is a single mother. What can she do? She doesn't have a gun. If she had a gun, she would have shot these people. But what the only alternative she has right now is to use what she has. So it is pain, it is anger, it is frustration, it is lack of hope. Ugandans have lost it. Ugandans are depressed. Despite the fact that you see people hanging out at night and partying and doing all that, it shouldn't, don't lie to yourself that Ugandans are happy. People are using the last coin they have to live that day and see what happens tomorrow. All
right, sure. Richard, coming to you, Dr. Stella Nyanzi was released, and of course we saw many people celebrating right from the court. To the general public internationally, everyone is celebrating, especially those who like the lady. But the big question is, when she was released, we saw her lining up with the FDC. What does that tell other opposition organizations like the People Power? Will she support People Power versus FDC just in case they front somebody?
People Power is not a political party. People Power is a revolution. Take out Museveni. Bobiwine said everyone in every political party must join, from UPC, DP, KY, every Ugandan must join to liberate the country. If Dr. Nyanzi comes out of the prison and is welcomed by Dr. Vesti, what's wrong with that? And she said one more word. She said, where is my president, Bobiwine? What was it? She's People Power. Being in FDC does not mean that you don't belong to People Power. It's not a support. We are not supporting anyone. We are supporting People Power to remove Museveni from power. Even us here, that's what we are doing.
Where does she leave her? Where does it leave her when you look at the two situations that FDC is most likely going to present somebody as a presidential candidate? And she says that Bobiwine is her president, but when you look at the people who are close to her, all of them were from FDC.
Until we hear from boss Bobiwine and Dr. Kiza Besigye making a press conference or out in the newspaper, we cannot make a judgment because behind there they are discussing these issues. We cannot come to a conclusion because our struggle is to get Museveni out of power at any cost. So, but going back to Dr. Nyanzi, if you see what she went through in Luzira, that means the country is so determined. If it fails by ballot, there's going to be plan B. People are going to use every means to get Museveni out of power. If this woman can sacrifice 18 months with all the torture, incarceration she went through, that means if it was going to the bush, she's determined to go and participate in the struggle. That's showing the whole country what it's going through right now.
What's your view with Sarah's comment that she's right to use obscenity in the public? What's your view?
Yeah, what is wrong with that? That's her way of expressing herself. That's her way of expressing herself. Because these things of Uganda, look at the security. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. Look at the security right now. What happened on the border? You go to Rwanda and bring out people, foreigners. There are two types of people. Rwandans. There are those who came from 1957 to 59 in Kazuguzugu that were granted citizenship in Uganda. Museveni went further with Kaihura and all the people and getting people from other security agencies in Rwanda, bring them in our police, in our military, and locking out citizens of the country out of the participation in everything. You give the economic, political, security to a foreign country. Now Museveni is crying in his own trap. What do you think people are supposed to do? Now everything is out, right there, everything out there. They had to get prisoners of war that entered with guns in the country that were caught up. And those are just a few, to mention a few. Look at what is going on. Where are we going? You think we are here to joke? Our country is gone. You destroy us in the country. Then you bring other people, now you are crying.
But does that verify the issues that are at hand? Her being a very influential figure and her being a very motivational figure in the eyes of many Ugandans to use opportunity against the president.
Yes, that's her way of expressing herself.
All right, well, let me bring in Daniel. Daniel, you know, you've been following that story of Dr. Stella Nyanzi. Now, of course, I asked the same question to these other guys. Yeah. What's your opinion if I start from there?
Well, for me, it is a victory for the opposition in Uganda because when you are persecuted for political reasons and you endure the persecution and you come out strong, it is an added value to the opposition. So I'm very proud of Stella Nyanzi, and I'm very proud of her strength and courage that she was not broken, because Museveni thought throwing her in jail, he will break her heart and she will kneel down and say, I'm sorry, or like she gives up. But she never did that. She came out strong and she showed all Ugandans that I'm still strong. And every Ugandan should take that as an example of courage to stand up against lies and to stand for the truth. Well, people have been judging her because of her language and her expressions. But when you are, let us be honest here, when you are living in a society where the space for interaction with those who are leading the country is narrow, and you are not allowed to challenge the status quo, this is what is going to happen.
Exactly.
There's going to be more Stella Nyanzis in Uganda if Museveni is still suppressing challenge. Because you can't rule a country for 30 plus years and be the perfect guy. So you have to stand challenge. People are going to challenge you. But when you try to narrow that gap and squeeze it, the products are Stella Nyanzi, the products are FDC, the products are people power. And there is more.
The products are still...
The products are full figure.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me say something. You're not going to run away from that. However much, and there are a lot of full figures. But again, this is something to tell you how immoral Ugandan has gotten. It is an immoral state that needs God, and it needs to be cleaned up.
Is that a new norm of the country?
It is the new norm, because the immorality from the country, because when you have such an immoral, you know, when you start blaming the likes of Stella Nyanzi, you will say, oh, she has a PhD. By the way, as PhDs in sexology, so she's allowed to use every word she's using. But at the same time, when you have the likes of Full Figure and the likes of Stella Nyanzi and more others that are sprouting out obscenity out there every day, you must understand, it does not start with them. Stella Nyanzi was not obscene 10 years ago. Full Figure is not obscene 10 years ago. But when you live in a society where obscenity comes from the top, Museveni may not be saying obscene words, but what he has done to the country is more obscene than what the Stellas are saying. So you can't blame the likes of Stella when the wife of the president cannot, because, for example, one of the things Stella Nyanzi has been fighting about, and what partly led her to go to prison, she was fighting about the presidential pledge, where the president pledged of giving sanitary pads to school-going children in schools. And Stella being a woman, and all of us know what it means to go through your menstrual periods. It's really tough and trying period even for young girls. But just imagine you don't have the supply supposed to be used in that period. So we've seen so many girls kicked out of school because they cannot go to school during that time of the month. And it depends. Some women they go in 5 days, others 3 days, others it's a full week. So that's a full week.
All right, guys, I want to ask you...
Because you don't have supplies. So Stella Nyanzi, look at, before even you look at the obscenity, what was the beginning of her cause? Her cause was reminding the president, you made the pledge, and it's now coming to end of your term. You've not fulfilled the pledge, and it is a simple thing. There is money to fulfill that pledge, but the money has been stolen and used for...
What is the future? What is the future? What is the future of Stella Nyanzi?
In fact, I want her to run for MP Kampala. I have heard from last year, I've had people say she is going to run. We have Nabila, who is I last heard
FDC.
Nabila is FDC, but I last heard of Nabila maybe 4 or 5 years ago. She's completely. We had the Nabila because we don't have so many women in parliament. So we need our female members of parliament to really be vocal and not just be in parliament just for being in parliament. So we need people who are going to stand out and speak of the ills, of the wrongs that are going through in government. You have I'll give kudos to the likes of Namboze, despite the fact that there are some of the strong women you have in parliament that have remained vibrant and relevant and consistent. So the likes of Nabila, you had them relevant at some point in time, and Nabila is just collecting her salary. So I would really love to see Stella Nyanzi running for MP Kampala. We need such a woman. Kampala needs cleaning up. We need her voice in parliament. I am telling you, if they say, what Bobiwine said, if the president refused to go to the ghetto, they would get away to the president. We need the likes of Stella Nyanzi. If the government does not clean up, still they will be obscene in parliament, but they will get their message across. The message will be passed across, even through their vulgarity. The message will get across. But so it you cannot, the entire system. So that's something to tell you that Stella Nyanzi and the rest and the full figures are operating in a country or society that is completely rotten. So you cannot only blame them. You have to go and blame the person leading this society, who is President Museveni. Why are people become so immoral? What has happened to our doctors? It's the PhD holder. What has happened? But it is the pain. I've told you earlier, if Stella Nyanzi had a gun, maybe she would have used the gun to take out the one person who she feels is a problem to Uganda. She doesn't have a gun. The best she can do is undress and say obscenity.
Let's look at the culture and the everything. Now, you remember last week, of course, the speaker had already summoned the first lady, who happens to be the Minister of Education, to come into parliament and explain why they're introducing a new curriculum into the country. Now, the most important part, she missed the first phase. She came later. Now, what we learned was that the speaker was trying to defend her over key issues. Now, was it because the speaker was also summoned by the president the day before the first lady appeared in the parliament? Let me start with Richard.
First of all, this is a very big topic. I don't know if we can finish it, but let me be a little bit brief. An education system, transforming an education system is so important in transforming a country. That we all know. We are all fighting for a Uganda that has been transformed to be a modern country. Now, what President Museveni is doing with his party is now transforming the country to the far left, because Uganda has been on the left since 1966. Now they are moving it far to the left to suit the economic prosperity that we see in China. Now they are changing the curricula to be like a model of China. Is not only that, the language, that's the trading partner, the credit, China, everything China. Now it's going to be compulsory in school. Let me give you an example. When Mao Zedong, if you look at the transformation of the education system of China, you go back and look at Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong tried to change the education system to fit the Russian type of education system, concentrating only in industrialization of the country, which Museveni is trying to do. Then, as Deng Xiaoping came to be the leader of China, he said no. He tried to reform that education system. Let me finish. When he tried to reform that education system, he said no. It's not going to work to transform China to the best way we want it. Let's use the Western democracy and let's use the schools of America. That's how China was transformed. Now Museveni is telling the country that he's going to change the country to the Chinese model of education and economic system and trade. What do people of Uganda need?
But I think you guys in your position, I think you're just used to opposing everything. Let me first read for you what the minister said. She said that the existing curriculum doesn't include the key 21st century skills. The old curriculum didn't teach learners how to think and be self-directed learners, didn't allow them to apply knowledge and skills effectively to known and difficult situations. And she continued to say that a new curriculum is now result-oriented and outcome based. Now, the first lady, of course, the first family of the country, plus the government itself, is trying to introduce something new that is going to improve what Sarah, what Richard, what Daniel have been asking for, that we need a skill.
We always say that there's going to be a transformation of the education system because of what the British did us in 1950s, putting us backward. We always say that, and we are not caring. Now people's powers come, now they are writing. I followed every word of the curricula they are putting out there to counterbalance people power. People power has the best. If you look at it very well, people power has the best.
Let me ask you this.
This is very, very important. Right. You cannot tell us that we are going to do trade with China instead of Honorable Chag that is going to bring us trade in America. Economic transformation of the country. Why would we go for a duplicate in China when we can get someone that can put us direct? All the things that are manufactured in China are sold in America, which is the big market. Why do we have to go into a third party through China instead of Honorable Chagwe bring us direct into America? Right. That's the difference. Look, I'm going to tell you. How does what the Chinese going to do in Uganda? Colonizing Uganda. They are brought in, they are given free land, free access to everything of the country. What do Americans do? They come as trade partners in the country. They never colonize. I'm going to give you an example because we all need an economic transformation. I took someone in my job that I work. I took him from the airport and he was coming from Kenya. I'm going to give you a model of Kenya. This man had a canvas making company in Kenya and Ethiopia. What he does, he got a partner in Kenya and in Ethiopia, and they manufacture a certain amount of shoes for him every week that he brings it to American market. And they agree on a price. The rest you can sell to a local market or ship outside. The way they agree is that he doesn't own you, he doesn't own your company, but you make trade. He gives you a startup capital, new machinery, and training your people how to make the best that can fit the American market. That's the American way of doing things. But the Chinese, they are coming from China, they are given free land, and our own people are going to work for the Chinese into slavery on their own land. Which is better? It's for us Ugandans to decide which we want. Do we want Honorable Chagwe in the way of working with the American to bring us such a trade in Uganda? Or we want the Chinese that are going to colonize us because we are only 42 million.
I want to bring in also these guys. You know, let me start with Daniel before I come to you, Sarah. What does that mean to you when Minister, she presented everything she had to, the advantages of the new curriculum versus the old one, and of course everyone in Uganda agrees that the old one has not been helping the country. I mean, Uganda has so many educated people, but they're not value-based. So let me ask you this. What do you see wrong in the new curriculum?
Bringing up the new curriculum is a right cause, but the timing is very, very long.
Are you guys in people power and other opposition scared that now the government is trying to improve things that you were planning to use in your campaigns?
You cannot tell me, David, after 33 plus years, people have been crying about this topic. And it took you 33 years to bring up a new curriculum to standardize the education system to the 21st century. Imagine, like, think about it, David. After 33 plus years, it's when now, after getting a lot of pressure from opposition and people talking about this issue, you bring it up, and then you're bringing it up in a very awkward way, very quick, not revised. You're giving teachers who are going to teach this curriculum 1 week to be trained before the new school term starts. You understand? And then the other issue is the content in the curriculum is what we need, because it is focusing on science and math and how teachers deliver to the students, which is very important. But for me, what I am against is the timing. The timing is very wrong. We are way behind. David, we are way behind. You cannot tell me after 33 plus years, it's now. We should have done this maybe when Museveni...
So shouldn't you guys be appreciating what now the government is doing? And the reason why you actually, people in the opposition should be supporting the government, because they're now improving things that we've been yearning for over the years.
David, it's good you mentioned over the years. People yearned for this over the years. And now they are bringing it now when people are frustrated. They cannot even believe in the system. Even when they are doing the right thing, people have doubts. People can't believe them. I saw the contention between Parliament and the Ministry
right.
of Education. Like, if this was a legit process and it was purposely to help the children in Uganda and improve the education system, there would have been a coordinated process that involved the Parliament, that involved the Ministry, that involved schools, parents, teachers. But the executive, the cabinet, sat and drafted the curriculum, and without involving these other stakeholders. That's why I question the leadership and the process and the intention. But I'm not suppressing the idea that the curriculum is being brought, but the process, the content, and the intention. Is it political? Is it honestly to help these kids have the skills that are required in this time? Because because when you look at Museveni and his investment policy, just like my colleague said, he is following what economists say is Washington consensus policy, where the Americans came out and said, for you to improve your economy, focus on foreign direct investment.
Right.
And that's what Museveni has been doing over the years. But he's brought all these jobs and all these factories, but no Ugandan can work reasonable jobs in these factories.
Right,
because they don't have the skills.
I want to bring you in. You have been, over the last couple of weeks, you've been against the First Lady for many reasons. One, some are probably, maybe everybody would say that they're true, why you are against her. But now it appears to be that even Kadaga is in the same bracket when she was called by the president just the day before the day First Lady went into Parliament. Now, you had everything, and I'm sure I know about what happened. But let me ask you this. Do you think this new curriculum, which was actually somehow supported by the Speaker of Parliament, is going to improve the system of Uganda?
Let me start from here. The problem we have in Uganda right now, Museveni and his family run Uganda like a monarchy. I'll pick up from what he said before. If you're going to introduce a new curriculum, it would have started by, they would have done a pilot study of the curriculum, where you have the key stakeholders in this curriculum would be the teachers or the head of these schools plus the students. When you're going to make such a curriculum, it would have been wise. The committee or the board where you sit, they should be teachers that are going to teach this curriculum, and a little bit, you do samples, you sample some teachers from some schools and then a head of teachers, because this curriculum entirely lies on them. For you to wake up and throw something on the teachers or the head teachers of which you've not piloted to know whether it works or not becomes a problem. The other thing I'm going to say, for example, you're going to introduce Chinese. But who are going to teach the Chinese? Because the Ugandan teachers we have don't know Chinese. You've not trained. If they were going to introduce such a new subject in the curriculum, they would have taken out teachers on courses, refresher courses, and maybe for a year to teach them Chinese so that they can teach the language back in schools. So in other words, you're introducing Chinese because for simple common sense, you're going to bring people from China to come and teach Chinese when we have teachers in Uganda, because that's the only option you have right now. With all the schools you have, you're going to pay someone else a salary when you have teachers who would have been trained first. Because I know we had teachers.
What could be, Sarah, before you finish up, what could be the reason why, according to you guys, I'm going to put it general to all of you, and of course I think I'll also get some answers from our viewers there. What could be the reason why the government had to make agriculture an option subject and bring Chinese as one of the key subjects for lower classes? I want to bring it back to you.
It makes sense. China is, because people do business in China, it would be important for people to understand China. But at the same time, they are completely wrong. For a country, Uganda, if, like it or not, if Uganda was well managed, the basket for Uganda, what would make Uganda earn millions and millions of money is agriculture, like it or not. You're going to introduce industries and all that, but Uganda agriculture is the basket. Has the wealth of Uganda lies in agriculture.
But
you cannot find
what could be the reason why you think the government is now
they
making
don't
that option?
know. I've told you, the Minister of Education is run by an semi-illiterate. She does not understand, and she's not taken time to go out and understand. And it's so absurd that coming from Uganda, at her age, she would have known that agriculture was the backbone of Uganda. Agriculture still is the backbone of Uganda, but it's not well managed. If I'm to tell you, even up to this time, the products, the fruits, you live here, but when you go to Uganda, you want to come back with everything that is in Uganda because the quality of the products, the way the products are circulated, the juice of the products we have in Uganda, like the fruits, you can never get it anywhere else. You cannot compare a pineapple grown in Uganda and a pineapple grown in America. You can tell the difference by just a bite. You can tell the difference. Mangoes grown in Uganda, I've never found them anywhere else. You cannot. We've eaten mangoes. The bananas we have on this side of the world, this is a first world country. You can never compare them with the bananas in Uganda.
All right,
let me finish up.
Yeah, sure.
Despite Uganda being a third world country, the other thing they've missed before introducing a new curriculum, one of the things that is killing the education sector in Uganda may not even be, partly the curriculum is because it's outdated, but the first and foremost thing they've refused and they've ignored for all these years, they've ignored the pay or remuneration of teachers. Even if you introduce a new curriculum, but have not improved the pay of the teachers, you're wasting time. Ugandan teachers are poorly paid. For teachers earning below $100 a month, is completely wrong, even with the new curriculum, because who is going to teach the new curriculum? I'm telling you
this to billion to hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So
no, I'm telling you this because it's usually a mistake. You failing to understand partly why is the root cause of all the problems you're going through in the education sector. We must accept teachers are no longer teaching.
All right.
But some of these head teachers have private schools of which they go to and attend to. Some of these teachers, they come to class and because you would ask yourself, before, when the standard of living was still manageable and teachers could manage, you used to get better products of students coming out of these schools. But teachers, how am I going to go to school and teach properly when my own kids are seated at home? Maybe they're in secondary school or university, I cannot find tuition for them or school fees for them.
Sure.
So teachers, the first thing before even introducing the new curriculum, what they would have gone back to is, for years teachers have tried, let them improve the salaries of teachers. Because even with the new curriculum, you're not going to get anything better because the people you depend on to deliver the knowledge to the students are poorly paid.
All right, so I want to bring in before you come in.
Let's see. Why is
first go back to Sarah's argument of teacher being paid well. Let me ask you this question. Mm-hmm. How best do these teachers perform for them to be paid better?
Okay. If we go how teachers are going to be paid by people power, first of all, the ministry is going. We propose the ministry to go in state government.
But you don't have a manifesto yet.
No. We shall bring it out. It's soon coming out. But let me give you a few things. Teachers will be well paid, and we shall have an exchange program from Arua to Kisoro. We shall have a school in America, Canada, or Britain, an exchange program where teachers come from these countries and go and work and help our students and our teachers there, and teachers come from there and come to America. That is all set is in our program. But the second thing I want to tell you, how are we going to reform the country? Let's go back. The first thing we are going to do is to propose to the Ugandans a comprehensive land reform, because for you to upgrade the likes of the people of Uganda, the standards of the living, we shall have to go back to the land reform, comprehensive land reform, so that people own land, not the foreigners own land, so that someone can have a land that we shall use for, say, agriculture. Don't tell me that it's only agriculture that is going to take people out of poverty. No, that is going to be a starting point for whereby we shall give initiatives to the people to go and modernize the farming and sell agricultural products, not only to the Ugandan and East African market, but to the entire world, because Uganda is on the topics. The second thing is is about the economic policy of the country. The land shall be the base where we bring you an investor, and this is only done by a leader. You are not going to have that the Americans are going to come in the country the way they want to meet an individual. No, these international trade are done by the leader. That's why we like Honorable Kyagulanyi. I've always been saying that it's a leader of the country that shall bring in good investors. When you have your land, you shall build an industry in your own names, where you have a partner in America, where you sell products and you're well paid.
All right, Daniel, what's your view about what's going on for...
Yeah, for the idea of teaching our children Chinese language, if really Museveni is patriotic and loves Uganda and has a better future and vision for Uganda, why not make Chinese learn Luganda? Because China is more interested in Uganda than Ugandans being interested in China. It's the other way around. So if you are really having a vision, because it doesn't make sense for Africans, and this is not only for Uganda.
Never step in China.
Yeah. How it doesn't make sense for Africans to promote other cultures when we are ignoring ours? Why are we not imposing our very own languages to the global market than us adopting theirs? Because Africa is an emerging power, and we are going to be huge players in the global economy. So strategically thinking, if I was the one who's doing this, I would make every Chinese investor who's coming to Uganda to learn Luganda instead of us.
No, I used to work in Sietco. I was a civil engineer in Sietco, a Chinese company. They used to have interpreters. They used to have interpreters.
Because at the end of the day,
Sietco.
some of these, instead of teaching the core subjects like agriculture, that would help some of these girls and people you're teaching, Mandelas or something.
There's Mandarin and
that's a major language in China.
And the other.
One, they may never step in China.
Yeah.
And two, they may, even when they're given jobs in this kind Chinese company, they are either sweepers or cleaners. They will never take up executive positions to make decisions. So I think at the end of the day, Museveni is not being patriotic, just like he said. Chinese should be learning Luganda. They are more interested in Uganda. The number of Ugandans that go to China to do business, people can still go to Malaysia.
Yeah.
So there's so many other countries that can do business with Uganda.
All right, so they can also, of course, they're doing French and other countries.
But I'm still insisting for the new curriculum even to make sense, because just like I asked you a question, the Chinese language you're introducing in schools, who is going to teach it? Do you have trained teachers for this language?
The government is going to introduce the new teachers. But guys, let me take you off from that.
There's something I wanted to add on here.
In fact, let me, for a second.
Yep.
In fact, if we see Chinese in these schools, let the students and teachers riot. We are not going to allow Chinese taking jobs that belong to Uganda.
Yeah. All right. Richard.
Recently, I heard on BBC about the mistake that Nelson Mandela made in South Africa, and they are going to correct it. The land reform. Everything. The U.S. Secretary of State was saying that, no, you cannot do land reforms where you are not going to compensate people. Because they said that 3/4 of the land in South Africa are owned by the white people. That is a Mandela mistake. Museveni is doing the same in Uganda. We shall kick out these we shall kick out these Chinese. We shall only concentrate in trade with the Chinese. They are not going to colonize our country by taking our land, enslaving our people. We shall fight. We shall be determined and shall kick them out. It's only trade.
You asked for investments, and the government is trying to do some
investment. I'm going to take you from that. In a bad political and economic system.
And for a second, if you're not careful, I have seen the white racism and racism that come from Asians. Yeah. Asians are worse racists when it comes to Africans than even the whites.
All right, guys. So
you have to be careful with the type of racism.
Let me take you off a little bit there.
For a second, a white person will employ, a white person will have maybe a maid or a helper in Uganda, and they will not allow them to do, they will do some work but not minimum work, reasonable work. An Indian or Chinese to have a helper in Uganda, they'll work them like they're slaves and donkeys. So as you're doing this, you're trying, be careful. The government should be careful not even to attract, against slavery within Uganda, where you're allowing in all these Chinese to come and mistreat Ugandans within their own land. All right. What are you going to cause? you're going to get back into Uganda. You see what happens in countries like South Africa.
You're going to create more jobs,
you're
going to create
more jobs,
more better schools. The Chinese government is going to
better
sponsor all these teachers.
Because one of the things you must understand, you teaching Chinese in Ugandan schools, I've told you for starters, who are the teachers? If it's going to be Chinese coming to Uganda to take away Ugandan
by
jobs,
the Chinese government,
they should be chased back. I do not care. What the Chinese government should do, they should take out Ugandan teachers and train them and teach them the language to come back and teach. Because why are you, even if it's funded, Uganda depends entirely, maybe the biggest part of the budget is money funded, money given by donors and funds from other countries. You're not going to give funds for Chinese to come in Uganda. And in fact, schools, they should riot beat up these Chinese for coming in a country where teachers are badly paid and taking up jobs for teachers.
I'm going to take you off from that, but today, CFTV Campfire reported that Bobiwine's People Power Consultative meetings were declined by police. Over the last couple of weeks, you guys and I have been asking you questions. What are you guys going to do if these meetings are cancelled? And many of you were so convinced that these meetings were going to take place. What we know today, at least from Bobiwine himself, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, this is what he wrote, or he put on his social media handle. Having paid for the venue and done everything else required of us by the law, police did not respond within the 48 hours as required of them. After we addressed a press conference and pledged to continue with our preparations, they wrote to us indicating that they are not clearing the event. Well, he continued to say the excuse they are giving this time is that they want us to formally present the demands and the proposals we made at the meeting we had with them at the Electoral Commission. Now, first of all, the police still believes you did not fulfill what you had to do. That's number one. Number two, you are going to again break the law by going on with doing the activities without approval of police. So if they had this tear gassed you, would that be a crime? I want to bring in Sarah before I come in after with Daniel, but I want to ask you that question.
If I'm going to ask, some of, because the other things I saw the other time, some of the things, they stopped the first consultation, they said, Bobiwine need to have sniffer dogs. Who is supposed to provide the sniffer dogs? I thought these are things that are, sniffer dogs belong to the police. If you tell Bobiwine, at least they had an ambulance, because, all the tricks, what I've seen is whatever they are doing to frustrate him, is it shows how incompetent and how scared they are. But for starters, I'm not even surprised that consultations have been stopped. Because even before they started, I knew Museveni fears anything that is called Bobiwine. But Museveni even fears if his own shadow can look like Bobiwine, he will shoot that shadow. That's how much he fears Bobiwine. Museveni knows his time is up. Museveni knows Ugandans, 75% of Ugandans, the youth believe in Bobiwine. Museveni knows indeed Ugandans are ready for change. So he's going to frustrate every effort. But we knew for starters that the consultation are going to be stopped. Whether they allow us to consult or not, it is not going to take away the fact that Ugandans know that the 34 years of President Museveni have yielded to nothing. Ugandans know that there is poor service delivery. Because if you're going to campaign, there are things you're going to tell them, that we are going to improve ABC and D. We are going to make sure that hospitals are well equipped. We are going to make sure that hospitals have the drugs. We are going to make sure that we don't ABC and D is done. We are going to make sure we fight corruption. Those are the things that have failed. It is, by the running against Museveni right now, is the easiest campaign. Because Ugandans know whatever has gone wrong. You do not have to think of rocket science. You do not have to think of ideas of what you're going to tell Ugandans. Ugandans know that the 20 billion for locusts have disappeared. We know that money that was meant to build a hospital in Lobowa disappeared. We know people who have stolen money. We know the likes of Mwezi who stole money for Gavi Fund, and they are now ministers again. We know all these people. We know money. We know last year money came in from there's money they said that was extra money printed, 90 billion. We know it disappeared from Nakalima's office. That is, she's in charge of
anti-corruption.
Anti-corruption. That money disappeared. No one came up. Ugandans know everything has gone wrong. When you go to some of the roads, even along the main road, some of the inner roads, they are terrible. When you go, at least every parent who has been able to take their kid through school, if there are two kids through school, either one is jobless for the last 5 years.
But let me ask you this, Sarah, before I actually leave you. Don't you think that now the government is winning?
They are not. They've exposed themselves, one to Ugandans, because first of all, everything they are doing, because if Bobiwine was not that strong and important, why are you scared? Basically, this tells you some of the candidates they've allowed to consult a week. If they've allowed, I've seen Muntu has been allowed to consult all over Uganda. Why didn't they stop Muntu? Yet he's also consulting. So that shows you Muntu is weak. Museveni only allows those that are weak. He knows the weak points. He knows the weaklings in this game. He knows the rest that are weak. He's not going to allow them to go out there. He will allow them to consult. Because I was asking myself, how did Muntu manage to go out? And Muntu has been meeting people, not even in buildings, under trees, outside. So Muntu, it's enough to tell him Museveni is not scared of Muntu. Museveni is not scared of all these political parties. Museveni's biggest nightmare. Look at Museveni before the coming up of Bobiwine. Museveni had some fresh on him. He looked good. His cheeks were, he had very nice cheeks. Museveni right now, he looks like he doesn't drink, he doesn't eat. The man is going anytime. If they tell you Museveni has not woken up today, don't be surprised. Bobiwine has given him, is the biggest nightmare Museveni has ever had. And for people, power supporters out there, don't despair and say, oh, they've not allowed us to consult, this is the end. No. If people out there, you know the problems of Uganda. And the problems of Uganda is what we want to address in the next, when Bobiwine becomes president, we want to address everything Museveni has failed to do in the last 34 years.
But does then, so Sarah mentioned about the president or even the government allowing some organization to do consultations. We remember FDC some years back did their consultations. They went well. ANT is doing a tremendous job. They're reaching out to very many people around. What does that mean to you, Richard? You're a veteran politician, and what does it mean to you?
The struggle of the country is one or two. Democracy for everyone, because there's no democracy in Uganda, and equal rights. When the Bush War was fought, after the Bush War, we always knew, because it was between the Baganda who fought and the Rwandans. We all knew who was in Rwanda and who was in Uganda. I want you to go and get this, one of the, if you want, I can bring it to you next week. Teddy Cheye, Uganda Confidential. General Mugisha Muntu is a Rwandan. No one, there's no doubt that General Mugisha Muntu is a Rwandan. Coming from Rwanda as a refugee and enter into the Ugandan system and fight in a war does not allow you to be a president of the country. I'm sorry, I'm going to be open, because this is now a war. You cannot say that Bobiwine, who comes from the center in Uganda, you deter him from running for the presidency of the country, and then you create your own opposition from Rwanda. The security is full of the Rwandans, the army is full of the Rwandans, the revenue society, every sector is full of foreigners, and in Uganda, Bobiwine is not allowed to even to consult. You think that is democracy?
Are you suggesting that the government is planting General Mugisha Muntu, Dr. SJ and others to run against President?
Yes, what is the objective? The objective, I told you before, that the objective of General Muntu is to make sure that he deters the people from taking complete over control of the country. For example, what happened in Congo, we always said about what happened in Congo. What happened? They picked their own opposition that fitted their own ideologies and ideas, that was not going to kick out the Kabila out of power. The same thing is Museveni doing, and say, because look how did Mugisha Muntu do his party. Because it's surgical. If you look at the communist countries, if you look at Stalin, if you look at Ceausescu, all these people that came to power, first of all, they take control of the party. They put people in their own structures. Look at what happened in Arua. Arua is the people power stronghold. It has been taken over by Mugisha Muntu. So, what do you think is going to happen to other areas?
What's the way forward for people power? Now,
yes, we shall. Let me finish up. We shall counterbalance it with a strong diplomatic war. We shall win the diplomatic war. We shall make sure that Museveni does not plant his own opposition to take over the leadership. We want a free and fair election, and people elect their own person into power. And that's it.
Just before I bring in Daniel, aren't you promising the promises that the former or the current FDC used to promise Ugandans, the tsunami and others? They said this is the time, this is the time. You promise Ugandans that these consultations are going to take place come what, come what. Second time, police has declined your request. What does it mean? Are you becoming liars?
No, we are not becoming liars. Look, The reason why Bobiwine is trying to do a consultation, he wants to write the white paper. We said it even last week. Once he writes the white paper, he wants to get views of the people. Now look at the education curricula. It is being changed by the ideas of the party. A party of whose leadership they are going to get out of power in the next 2 or 3 months or 1 year out of office. Bobiwine what is saying that, give me your ideas, the way you want a country to be after we take it over. And then from there, we shall make a new constitution that fits in your own ways of the country. And that's democracy.
Daniel,
Yep.
what does it tell you? Today, we know that people power is a very strong force, is a very strong movement. Honorable Kyagulanyi is a very strong guy against President Museveni. But President Museveni and his government, they still have the powers to stop all the consultations that Honorable Kyagulanyi is planning. First of all, you guys in the people power have been promising Ugandans that things are going to happen the way we plan them. You say it, different story. What happens is a different story. What does it mean?
No.
What should Ugandans expect out of what you normally tell them?
Let me correct you on one thing. We don't say different story. What happens is the difference. After we plan things and we tell Ugandans this is what we are going to do, we are following this and this and this and this, because we are clearly followed the law. And we are going to exhaust every legal means to make sure that these consultations happen. But for me, I feel like this is a win for us when the government behaves like this. Because Robert Kyagulanyi has been telling Ugandans, this guy fears you more than anything, more than the army, the biggest army in the world. Museveni fears people. And Museveni's nightmare right now is not Robert Kyagulanyi. Museveni's nightmare is that Ugandans are conscious of what democratic governance means. Ugandans are conscious of what rule of law means. Ugandans are conscious of what good leadership is. And this is his nightmare, because when you look at what is going on right now, Museveni he works with ideologies instead of policies. So he brings an ideology, plants it in society, and drives people on that. But people have woken up and they feel like this is not working. Now, the good example is this idea of buying people. The NRM party is unpopular in Uganda like never before. Museveni himself is unpopular. And that's why he wants to get close to the people. That's why he, instead of jailing corrupt people, he is working because he wants to put himself out there. He is doing the trek thing to put himself out there, to win the media over the opposition, because he's unpopular. So what he's doing, because he cannot buy the hearts of Ugandans, he's buying those who he has made to believe that participating in politics, you have to be paid. Participating in loving your country, you have to be paid. But some of these things, you cannot be paid to love your country. You cannot be paid to speak the truth. And even those people who are being given this money, who are asked to break the law.
People celebrating last week, but one
let me tell you,
displaying a huge amount of money.
Let me be honest with you. When these people go back to their homes and they are alone in their rooms, they know the truth, and they are lonely, and they are convicted, and they feel guilty.
So what's
the
way forward for power in Uganda? At least I know that you guys today are having a consultative meeting. I don't know about the place, but at least I'm sure that you guys are having a consultative meeting with the people of Boston and New England area.
Yeah.
But let me take you back. What's the way forward for people who are in Uganda? Things are the tables are turning. Now Museveni is on top, people power is down.
No, that's not true. You can never put yourself above the power of the people. And that is the reason why Museveni is fighting. Because the people are on top of his game, not him being on top of the people. So the issue is, we are still going to exhaust every legal means to make sure that our consultation meetings happen. And if we exhaust every legal means, we want Ugandans to see and know who is the lawbreaker in this process. You understand? So we are going to exhaust every legal means to make sure that these meetings happen, and we are going to, in the process, either way, we are going to expose these people to show people that, you know, this is what your government is capable of. And then the other thing is, David, Uganda is wide. Uganda is wide. Uganda is not only the location in East Africa and in Africa. There are Ugandans here who contribute a lot to the economy in Uganda. They have a lot of stake back home in Uganda. And they also have a voice in the issues that are going on home. And today we are meeting them. We want to hear their views. We want to hear what they want us to do and what they want a new Uganda to look like. That's already a win for us. Because these small steps are a huge blow to all the roadblocks they have put on our efforts in Uganda.
All right.
And maybe one thing we must add, just like you said, just like I said, we are going to exhaust all means, and that's why partly one, we decided Ugandans living in the diaspora, we have a consultative meeting happening today for those people who live in Boston, and then there is, I think, next week in California, and these are going to go worldwide. People even in Europe, people in Asia, people in Sweden, that's Europe. You will advise all your teams to come up with consultative meetings, because I can assure you, every person who lives in the diaspora has a needy person in Uganda. And on a daily basis for the last 34 years, we've been listening to the needs of our people in Uganda. Someone calls you. Basically, sometimes when we call and maybe you want to talk about things happening in Uganda, they will give you a full recount of how things are wrong. And so definitely we believe the people who live in diaspora, they can, as much as people in Uganda cannot be allowed to converge, the people who live in the diaspora will converge and pass on the information they get from people in Uganda, because that's how information travels. People in Uganda, in the diaspora, have people who are really oppressed in Uganda. It could be family members, it could be relatives, it could be their friends. So that information they get is the information we need to pass on to the team in the diaspora, of which the team will disseminate the information back to Kampala. So either way, whether they like it or not, the information we need, will get it. Because you may think stopping Bobiwine and the team from converging or meeting, then you've stopped everything. No. We live in an era of smartphones where I can have 10, 20 people on a conference call and we are discussing the issue of people, the information. I can have the chairman of an area who knows very well an area on a conference call with 4 other people, and we get all this information. So either we will get the information, but either Kyagulanyi or the rest is allowed to consult or not. Ugandans, don't despair. Just know all the things that we are crying, everything. First of all, Bobiwine has a lot of manifestos to work with. You have from the 10-point programs. That's the full manifesto. Museveni has not done anything on the 10-point program.
When you were, actually, thank you for mentioning that before I take you off from that discussion. But when Bobiwine, then he had an interview and he said we are going to use these 10-point programs, many people criticized him for copying what President Museveni...
No, because he has not done anything. When President Museveni had just taken over power, he was fresh, young and energetic. And if he was really going to serve Ugandans, he would have started. If you read the 10-point program, everything that is on is spot on. But it is so absurd for 34 years. Nothing has been done in the 10-point program. So because don't expect Bobiwine or to lead out on, for, to bring up ideas from Mars or what. Because the problems of Mars are not the problems affecting Ugandans. The problems affecting Ugandans right now are the things President Museveni has failed to do or fulfill. So we start with the 10-point program. Very simple, articulate, everything is spot on, but President Museveni has failed to do. So we do not even have to go meandering looking at so many things. We can use the 10-point program, we can use all these other manifestos Museveni has had, because it's a duplication of everything. Basically, his other manifestos were just a deliberation. It's just an expansion of what was in the 10-point program that he has completely failed to do, so he kept fooling Ugandans playing with that, but there's no magic.
Let's look at... Sarah, thank you, but sorry, I had to break you up because my producer is asking me about time. Time is running out. But let's look at the Katuna border issue. President Museveni and President Kagame have been meeting now. This week, it was the 4th time, and they had to agree. I think at first they had a gentleman's agreement. Then they went into paper. Then President Museveni had to send the UN representative, Ambassador Adunia Yebali, to Rwanda to go and have a further discussion before this last meeting, which was according to State House, they said it was a fruitful meeting between the Ambassador Adonia Ebale and the government of Paul Kagame. Now, the quick question is, Richard, why is it that these two governments, which previously we used to know them as brothers and sisters, they used to actually, some people used to call them one government system within East Africa. Why are they breaking up now that is costing millions and millions of Ugandans day in, day out?
First of all, the security of Rwanda is at stake, and the security of Uganda is at stake. The second thing is on the advantage of people power. I'm going to give you one answer. Every socialist country, because let me tell you what is going to happen in Uganda. If Museveni does not conduct a free and fair election, the Ugandan people are going to charge the government, and they are going to take the government out of power and install their own government. A socialist country is always helped by another socialist country. If Kagame breaks out with Museveni at this time, it's better for the opposition that is going to take off power in Uganda. The second thing I want to tell you very well is Uganda needs an overhaul of the security, the army, the police, and everything. What happened? It's a shame between Rwanda and Uganda. What is happening? All the old people from Rwanda are occupying every, because before he was lying that nothing is there. Look at the exchange. What is there? People have been caught up in the security of the country, in police, in everywhere. They are there. They deny Ugandans in every aspect of the country, and then they bring foreigners who infiltrate to get information back to Kagame, because Kagame himself was a Ugandan soldier. If you don't know, Kagame is one of the founding members of the NRA. Kagame was got from America and taken by Museveni to Rwanda. All the money that put Kagame in power was Ugandan money. What do you think Kagame doesn't know in Ugandan security? This is good for the opposition, because we are going to overhaul everything. That's why I proposed that we, the people in the diaspora, must be very careful, because when the time comes, we shall ask for an intervention of the United Nations, so that it goes and put troops on the ground, so that we can neutralize the forces that are controlling.
Is it that for an intervention?
No, that's not for an intervention. How are you going to transform the security of a country?
Well, these two guys go way back
as friends,
as friends, right? Because when Kagame was charging into Rwanda to fight against Habyarimana, he got a lot of support from the government in Uganda.
Right.
And it is evident, the UN reports have come out, and there were guns that were donated to Uganda that through the United States that were supporting the revolution in Rwanda. So Museveni had a very good, a very huge hand in shaping up Rwanda. And the Rwandans had also a very big hand in shaping up Uganda. What happened here, for me, depending on the sequence of events, these two guys, their contention starts in Congo. Both of them have interests in Congo. And both of them, their interests are business oriented. I won't go in further details, but when they started having disagreement on the policy and approach in Congo, they started
to become the president of the country.
No, the minerals and the resources, because it's evident Uganda has been interfering in Congo to steal wealth. Yes. The same thing Rwanda has been doing, and these two were coordinating. They had a coordinated approach in this. They have sponsored the rebel groups to destabilize some regions so that they can steal as many minerals as they want. That's evident. So when they started disagreeing, they resorted to espionage. Rwanda sent spies to Uganda to know what Museveni is planning. And Museveni did the same thing. He sent spies to Rwanda. So later on they realized, hey, I've been infiltrated. Because there are a lot of security personnel that were recruited in Uganda that had been sent as spies to Uganda. The same thing in Rwanda. So this is when the clash started. But to my surprise, Museveni was very ashamed, because he is directly supporting dissidents. Rwanda dissidents in Uganda is sheltering them. he's funding them. And Kagame came out and pointed out this issue very much. And Museveni was told his ministers, stop talking about this issue, because he was embarrassed. He was caught down.
Yeah, that's a question I was going to ask you. Did the president lie to Ugandans when he said that this is a small matter that will be solved as soon as possible? Because the latest information we have is that it's not going to end now. Yesterday, people during this week, they expected the borders to be opened, but there are also still other matters that have to be resolved. And the president said we are going to look into them, but did he lie at first when he said it's a small matter that
the most pressing issue right now, because Rwanda said we are not going to open the borders until the Rwandese dissidents who are being supported by the Ugandan government are handed over. This is where the twist is, because I don't think Museveni is ready to do that. And
no, yesterday they signed an agreement, the extradition treaty. Yesterday they signed it, actually.
So they signed one. The question is, is it going to be implemented?
Yeah, but the international law, that's where it comes in, because under the international law, if someone asks for refugee status in a country, you're not supposed to hand him over unless they were so stupid and they never did that. If they never did that, then it's a problem. If they did it, then they have to run to the next embassy or Canadian embassy, any country that can take them out, because Museveni is not supposed to hand them over because Kagame is going to kill them. But let me finish with more word. It's on the advantage of the Rwandan people or the Rwandan community that are in Uganda. You are suffering, you don't want Kagame, but you are supporting Museveni. We are asking you, support Honorable Kyagulanyi. We shall sort it out. From 1957, 1959, there's never have been a Ugandan that has oppressed a Rwandan. We have married their women, they have married our women. We are brothers and sisters. If you look at the background of Uganda and Rwanda, Yantonde used to be the capital city of Rwanda. Way before, if you go 1,000 years or 1,500 years, that's how it was. So we are telling the Rwandans in Uganda we are friends, because what is happening, they have two undangamut. When it comes to an election, they call them over and come and support the NRM government so that it stays in power. This time we are asking you, support Honorable Kyagulanyi. We shall sort this problem out ourselves.
All right, so guys, Sarah, I want to take your final statement, and then I go
to... there are things I looked at, because you see the problem they have too here. You have two dictators. But one of the dictators, on the two you have, one is more likable by his people because he's a dictator who loves his country. That's
but the problem, Sarah, when you say that, according to reports we've received in the recent past, many people are being killed. There is a gentleman, a musician, a revolutionary musician who was killed.
But when it comes to
it's a new normal in the media. We report something to say that the government is doing a great job, but people on the ground are saying it's a different story, just like it is in Uganda.
Dictators both kill. But when you look at where Rwanda was after the war, there is a greater improvement. Rwanda has really done transformation in terms of either right now they're using drones to deliver medication into the small hospitals or clinics where where cars are not able to access, or there are no roads. Uganda right now, in Rwanda, you have I don't know if they're manufacturing or assembling phones right now. You have Volkswagen left South Africa, and they have a plant right now in Rwanda. So when you look at transformation, Rwanda, and even when you compare the two countries, Rwanda has just come out of war in 1994, 96. Rwanda and Uganda, even when you look at growth of both countries, Rwanda is doing far much better. When you look at the currency of these two countries, the currency of Rwanda is doing much better than the currency of Uganda. When you look at the education sector, Rwanda was a French-speaking country. What he did after the war, they shipped in teachers went to Rwanda. Many Uganda teachers who knew English went to Rwanda to start it, and they were teaching English in their schools. Right now they are kicking out French, and they're taking in Swahili because of that. But what I'm telling you, why Uganda definitely is losing out on this, because as much as the borders are closed, Rwanda has a shorter route. He has another route he can use from either the port either they can use the port in Tanzania or use the one in Kenya and move through Tanzania and go to Rwanda. But what has been happening, Uganda has been feeding a lot, especially Ugandans in western Uganda. They've been feeding a lot to Rwanda in terms of produce, and they can no longer ship their produce to Rwanda and a lot of farmers have lost a lot of money because of that. And then the other thing, Rwanda, despite the fact that Kagame comes from, he was a soldier, he was an army guy in the UPDF before he went to Rwanda to become president. Definitely Museveni fears, he knows Museveni on a personal note. Museveni, basically Kagame was supposed to be a crony of Museveni. He planted him there, he wanted him to work for him. And Kagame, when he got into place, he became big-headed. He no longer wants Museveni. And I think Museveni is also scared that the likes of Kagame, if they're not tamed right now, they might end up working with the likes of Kyagulanyi.
All right, guys.
And that is not good for Museveni. Let me a person like a person, because Kagame was completely 100% trained, put in power by Museveni. And what did Kagame do? He became big-headed. He's not listening to any orders from
So I want to put you. I want to give you this as a by the way, but it's it just came in my discussion today. Before I close the show, there is a new trend in the Ugandan political system where musicians are leaving one political party and they're coming back in the other one. What is really going on? We saw many of them are now complaining that NRM government did not give them the money they had promised them. What's the problem? Why is it that things are changing now? They're coming back to people power.
Maybe one of the things I was, one of the things that I found interesting that made me burst out laughing on social media was the interview of Ndugwa, and I made a post and I told her these angry musicians who are selfish, because the last person I would expect to betray any Ugandan would be musicians. I don't know if they totally understand their business or their trade of whatever they're doing, because entirely musicians depend on Ugandans. What they offer is a service. You come and sing, but you don't sing to empty chairs. Ugandans listen to your music. Maybe they love it or they like it, but if you stage a show and no one appears there, then you're not making any money. So they're not selling. It's not food. It is not a product that I have to touch. It is a service whereby I come and listen to your music, but when I leave, I go back on an empty stomach, or I didn't leave food at home. So whatever they are giving Ugandans, it's a service that causes enjoyment and happiness for maybe the 1 minute, 2 hours you spend for a show. But after that, if I didn't leave food at home, I go back to my misery of no food. So the last people I would expect to betray Ugandans would be the same people who depend again on Ugandans to survive, especially musicians, because your music entirely depends, you being successful, it depends on Ugandans coming for your music shows and either buying your music, coming out for your concerts, and liking what you do. First of all, half of the musicians you have in Uganda cannot sing. It is auto-tuning in studios. It is bubblegum music.
All right.
Let me finish up.
Sorry,
let me finish up. They cannot sing. We entirely been consuming auto-tunes coming from studios, but give them a microphone to give you a live cappella. They cannot, and we are okay with it. We've accepted that our musicians, okay, they entertain us in other ways, but they cannot sing. Go even to comedians. Their comedy is so stale. Unless they're obscene, they cannot even, you can never put some of these commercials we have in Uganda on an international stage. They cannot even be curtain raisers. When you compare them to the products that come from America, they are nothing. All their jokes about women, obscenity, women's private parts and all that, that's all they know.
I want to take my microphone because my time is running out.
Let me finish up my point. Just give me a minute. So we've accepted them. So for you to wake up and go and say you've joined the NRM, because I had completely his interview, said he has joined the NRM because first of all, he said before, there's nothing he was getting from Bobiwine. And I can tell you, Ndugwa and the likes, more of you, there's nothing you're going to get from people power. We do not have money. We've been oppressed. We are broke. So if you come to people power thinking you're going to get money, we don't have. All we have right now is to survive on our own as individuals. Right. So if you're going to go to Bobiwine, my simple advice, if you're going to go to Museveni, before you take any photo from President Museveni, collect your money first. Because Museveni is a mufere. He's the number one mufere. Museveni is a mufere number one. He only needs a picture from you before you collect your money. So first take your money before you even allow a handshake. Before anyone brings the camera in your face, collect your money. So for Ndugwa had his interview, he said, he went on the other side. He never got what he wanted. You wanted money on the other side and you came back here. So where you've come, we do not have money. Don't expect anyone is going to give you any single point.
All right, Sarah, thank you.
All what you're going to get when you stand with them. Let me finish up with this. All what you're going to receive from us, when you stand with the oppressed and tomorrow you wake up and stage a concert, we will save our 10,000, come and support you. But if you think you're going to come to People Power expecting a sack of money from Honorable Kyagulanyi, or you think us, the supporters of People Power who believe in change, we are going to get any money and give you, you're joking. We are as oppressed as you, but again, keep collecting money from NRM, but before you get that money, be wise. You're dealing with the number one Mufere, President Museveni. He's not going to give you that money after picture. All they need is a
so I'm going to take you off.
To give a technical view.
Before you actually mention whatever you're going to tell us, right now as we speak, musicians are going, coming.
Yeah.
How sure is People Power that these people who are coming back are not going to be spies?
David,
there's nothing to spy.
The most important thing is these people are our brothers and sisters. They are Ugandans and they have a stake in this in the country. I wanted to start from a technical point of view and then bring it to that. There are two authorities in any society. There is the formal authority and the informal authority. The formal authority are these people who are given power by society, election, they are elected in offices. And then there is the informal, which are the celebrities. They have authority that is not granted to them by anybody else, but is just created through the community or the society. So the NRM is very unpopular right now. I mentioned that earlier. And the only thing they can do is to cling on the informal authority of these musicians. But the trick is not to rely on them and keep them. It is to use them.
And dump them.
And after they get to their end, they are going to dump them. And that's what Kyagulanyi has been telling these people. These guys are using you. They will give you all the money in the world. But as soon as they get where you take them where they want you to take them, they are going to dump you. Not or even kill you. But the thing is, we welcome everyone. Some of them may be prodigal sons. They would run away. But as People Power, we are a society of loving people. And we welcome them back. Even our friends like Bebe Cool, even if they come back, we will welcome them.
All right,
in politics,
thank you.
In politics, there are no permanent enemies.
Permanent enemies. Richard, what's your take on musicians
music
who
is a tool of war. South Africa mobilizing people against apartheid was music. Honorable Kyagulanyi rise to power and people following him is music. The Bush War, the Chifurugunyu is music. Museveni knows that the tool of war on any oppressed society is music that mobilizes people. So whichever he can do to make sure that he stops that, he can do it. But more of the musicians will come out. Even if you buy all of them, more will rise every morning because the oppression is there. And we shall be free at the end of the day.
All right, guys, I want to thank you so much. And I want to thank you, our viewers, who are always with us, discussing and presenting your comments. We always go through them. Though I no longer mention them or I no longer mention names, I do read everything, and I appreciate you all for doing a great job, sharing our programs and liking. But most importantly, there are some breaking news that have just come in. According to Bloomberg, the Bank of Uganda has lost, in the last 15 years, has lost 545 million US dollars. Now, guess what? They've only made a profit of only 40 million Ugandan shillings. 40 billion Ugandan shillings. Now, that's where the economy is standing, and that's how they're doing. So it's the responsibility of Ugandans to understand. But that wasn't my closing take. Let me give my closing take. My option goes back to Dr. Stella Nyanzi. She did a great job. She's a very smart woman. She's a very educated woman. And she's a very patriotic woman. But some of the words that she used, or she's continuing using, may not be the best words for the society to consume. They may not be helping the opposition, neither may they be helping those in government. The society, of course, politics, we understand how it operates. We understand that many Ugandans have grievances, but that doesn't mean that obscenity should be made the new normal in our societies. At least, that should not happen today. If show was on love, sex, and money as a show, that would be the perfect moment. But in a political direction, that Ugandans need a new agenda, the right words to be used and not the obscene ones. Have a great week. I believe that many Ugandans have gotten something out of this. but we should not normalize what's wrong. If the opposition is fighting to have a better Uganda, let them fight for correct way of doing it, not using obscenity. Have a great week. Now, for people who are watching us in New England and our neighboring states, please, today I've been informed right now, of course I knew some of the information, that People Power is having their consultative meetings today. I'm yet to find out. Before I get out of here, let me first get to the actual address, because I need to be fair when I'm doing these things. So what is the time, guys? You may remind me.
2 p.m. and we are going to be at Clapton Elementary School. Everyone is welcome. We want to hear from you. This day is all about you, not us.
I'm trying to sketch out to get my details very well. So I'm getting lost. All right. So thank you, Daniel. The meeting is going to take place at Thomas Aura Prempton. It's 20 Farnworth Street, Waltham, Massachusetts. So if you have not received or you've not seen the flyer, please, I guess people are sharing it around to get the address so that you don't miss. I've been informed that these consultative meetings are there for you Ugandans to air out your views. So go and support, go and hear what these guys have to say. Now, as a journalist, as a freelance journalist, and of course as a political talk show host, I'm going there to get information so that when I come here next Saturday, I'm going to be grading these guys if they said what was right or what was wrong. Have a great week. I'll see you next Saturday. Guys, I want to thank you for your time. And